Namaste and good morning. Welcome to the Slowdown Daily Brief, your daily dose of business news that matters. I'm your host, and today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2026. Let's dive into what's moving the business world today. First up, here are today's top headlines. Headline 1. Dalal Street celebrates. The Sensex surged over 1,200 points as crude oil dipped below $100 a barrel on Middle East de-escalation hopes. Headline 2. Goldman Sachs has slashed India's growth forecast for the second time this month, down to 5.9% from 7%, and is now predicting an RBI rate hike. Headline 3. The RBI just doubled collateral-free loan limits for micro-enterprises from 10 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. If you run a small business, this one's for you. Let's take a deeper look at the markets. What a day on Dalal Street. The BSE Sensex closed at 75,273, up 1,205 points. That's a 1.63% jump. The Nifty settled at 23,306, gaining nearly 400 points. Over the last 48 hours, analysts estimate that over 14 lakh crore rupees have been added to market capitalization. So what triggered this rally? Two words: oil prices. Brent crude retreated to just under $100 a barrel, down from the 105 plus levels we saw last week, as diplomatic channels between the US and Iran showed signs of life. For India, which imports 88% of its crude, even a small dip in oil prices is a big deal. But here's the catch. Foreign institutional investors are still selling. This was their 18th straight day of net selling, offloading over 8,000 crore rupees yesterday. The good news? Domestic institutional investors stepped in with nearly 5,900 crore in purchases. The message for business owners? This rally is fragile. Don't make major capital allocation decisions based on one good day. The underlying geopolitical risk hasn't gone away. Now, let's talk about the Goldman Sachs bombshell. Goldman Sachs cut India's 2026 GDP growth forecast to 5.9%, down from 7% before the Iran crisis began. This is their second downgrade in just 2 weeks. They're also predicting inflation will rise to 4.6%, up from their earlier estimate of 3.9%, and here's the kicker. They expect the RBI to hike rates by 50 basis points to defend the rupee. This matters because the HSBC flash PMI data released yesterday confirms the slowdown is already here. India's composite PMI dropped to 56.5 in March from 58.9 in February, the weakest expansion since October 2022. Domestic demand is softening, and cost pressures are building. For MSME owners, this is a signal to tighten your working capital management. If Goldman is right about a rate hike, your borrowing costs could go up by the second half of the year. If you have variable rate loans, now might be the time to explore fixed rate options or lock in current rates. Moving on to some genuinely good news for small businesses. The RBI has announced several reforms that directly impact MSMEs. First, collateral-free loan limits for micro-enterprises have been doubled from 10 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. If you've been struggling to get working capital without pledging assets, this opens up new possibilities. Second, for digital payments users, the RBI has proposed compensating victims of small-value digital frauds with payouts of 85% of the loss amount, capped at 25,000 rupees. In a country where UPI transactions are the backbone of small business payments, this is welcome protection. And third, banks can now finance company acquisitions, with lending up to 75% of acquisition value. If you've been eyeing a competitor or a complementary business, say, on solaaane.com, this makes deal financing much more accessible. Meanwhile, a Rajya Sabha committee has proposed creating a new Nano enterprise category with an investment limit of about 10 lakh rupees. Why does this matter? Right now, 99.3% of India's 7.61 crore registered enterprises are classified as micro, which means a chai stall owner and a factory with 2.5 crore in machinery compete for the same government schemes. The committee also flagged that 6 out of 8 budget promises for MSMEs from last year remain unimplemented, including credit cards for 10 lakh micro enterprises. There's an 8.1 lakh crore delayed payment crisis hurting small businesses. If you're owed money by a larger company, keep pushing through the MSME Samadhan portal. It's one of the few tools that actually works. In startup news, Euler Motors raised 437 crore rupees in a Series E round led by Lightrock, with Hero MotoCorp participating. They're building electric commercial vehicles for logistics. If you're in the delivery or transport business, the EV transition is accelerating. Swish raised $38 million for its 10-minute food delivery service with proprietary kitchens. And Meesho launched Vani, an AI voice shopping assistant targeting regional language users. A smart play for Bharat's next 500 million internet users. Also worth noting, Honda announced a 15 billion rupee investment to expand motorcycle production in Rajasthan, adding 2,000 jobs and boosting capacity to 8 million units by 2028. That's a strong vote of confidence in India's manufacturing ecosystem and good news for the auto parts supply chain. So what does all this mean if you're running a business in India today? Here are your key takeaways. First, enjoy the market rally, but don't get carried away. Oil prices can spike again overnight if Middle East talks break down. Keep your cash reserves healthy. Second, if you're a micro-enterprise owner, check with your bank about the new 20 lakh Collateral-Free loan limit. This is real money that's now accessible to you. Third, prepare for potentially higher interest rates in the second half of the year. Review your loan portfolio and consider locking in current rates where possible. And fourth, if you're in manufacturing or auto parts, the Honda expansion signals continued demand. Position yourself in that supply chain if you can. That's your Sola Ani Daily Brief for today. If you're thinking about buying or selling a business, head over to solaani.com. That's 16ane.com, where we make business deals sola aane paka. See you tomorrow.